Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing another interesting topic, prose. What is prose? We are going to be looking at the meaning of prose, the types of prose, and the classification of prose as well. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so that you get notified when the topic on drama is uploaded. In our previous class, we discussed poetry, the features of poetry and types of poetry. So we are going to be looking at what is prose today. To most people, prose is a novel. When the word prose is mentioned, what comes to their mind is a novel they have read or a short story they have studied. So when we mention prose, novels such as Things Fall Apart or Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte comes to the mind of people. Okay, this is prose, this is a novel. But is novel all that is prose? No. So let's journey together and discover what is prose. Now, the term prose applies to all forms of written or spoken expression which do not have a regular rhythmic pattern. Regular rhythmic pattern is associated with poetry, and we discussed it extensively in our last lecture. So rhythmic pattern is the use of words having metrical structure. So prose is not written in such form. Prose is designated in paragraph and in chapters. So prose is often designated, is often meant to designate a conscious, cultivated writing, not merely bringing together of vocabularies or listing of ideas or a catalog of objects. So prose is designed to express an idea, emotions, and even thoughts. So the stories that form every prose fiction are narrated in a grammatical and logical order. And prose, just like poetry, originated from Latin. And in Latin, it is regarded as prosos, which we can literally translate to English as straight on, or continuous, or forward. That is, continuous way of writing. And prose is similar to everyday writing. It is similar to the writings and composition in newspaper or business composition or business expression. It is not like poetry where it is structured into stanzas, into verses, and then written in lines. So prose uses chapters and paragraphs. And some of the major type or major examples of prose we have here. We have Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. We have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. We have several other, The New Tribe by Buchi Emechita, Second Class Citizen by Buchi Emechita. All these are prose. They expresses ideas in a way that it is formatted into chapters and paragraphs. It is not like drama. It is not like poetry. So please note the difference between prose and other genres of literature. Prose is designed in a way that it is structured in paragraph and chapters. Now, a good prose fiction have what kind of features? When we say prose, or the rhythm of the word is given preference. So the words that appear in first paragraph, for instance, will not be the same or have the same rhythm or metrical structure with the words that appear in the second paragraph. Another characteristic feature is that it has some logical, grammatical order, and its ideas are connectedly stated rather than merely listed. Now, the idea in chapter 1 is connected to the idea in chapter 2. and it is connected to the idea in chapter 3, and progressively to the last chapter of a prose work, or to the last part of a prose work. So prose is not like poetry, where maybe a poem is different from another poem. A stanza can express idea, and the second stanza may express a connected idea or different idea. In prose, the idea continues, the grammatical order continues, and it is logically connected. That is, the story is connected. Maybe the story is the story in chapter 1 to the story in chapter 2. Then another one is that it is characterized by style. So this style is dependent on the writer of the prose work. A writer of a prose work can use maybe flashback to begin the story with the end of the story. So you may open a novel, for instance, and then what you read in the first chapter is actually the end of the story. And through flashback, the writer now progresses to reveal the beginning of the story. And sometimes it could be in a linear logical order, where the beginning of the story begins in chapter 1, and then it progresses to the last chapter, to the end of it. So the writer have the lances of style to use any kind of style that suits the story or that suits him or her. Another one is that it varies, it secures variety of expression through diction and sentence structure. Now, you have the lances of detailed expression. You can describe an object, or you can talk about a particular object more in prose than in any other genres of literature. In poetry, you don't have such luxury, and in drama, you may not have such detail. But in prose, you have the lances. Using grammatical and sentence expression, you can discuss, reveal the detail of an object, of a character, or a participant in a work of prose. Now, let's discuss the classification of prose. Prose is classified into two major areas. We have what we call prose fiction, and we have non-prose fiction. The prose fiction is the kind of prose that is fictional, and it uses a kind of imagination. So the term prose fiction is used for narrative writing drawn from the imagination of the author rather than from history or fact. So where you get non-prose fiction is the one that has to do with fact or history. That is non-prose fiction. But prose fiction has to do with the imagination of the author rather than history or fact. So the term prose fiction is mostly frequently associated with stories such as novels, short stories, novella, and other aspects of prose fiction. So fables, parables, fairy tales, folklore, and some other stories also contain fictional elements, and they are part of prose fiction. So the chief function of prose fiction is to entertain, but it is often served also to instruct, to edify, to persuade, to arouse, or even to incite. So it is one of the major devices by which human beings communicate their visions of nature, of reality in concrete terms. So prose fiction is any unreal story which deals with invented people and events, and this is because writers of such work in their imagination closely imitate or copy life without imitation. And the people you found in the prose fiction, we refer to them as characters. They are created by the imagination of the novelist, in imagination of the writer of the prose fiction. Not really that they are real. where the characters and the story is real or a fact, we don't refer to it as prose fiction. It is non-prose fiction. So some of the examples of prose fiction, we have The New Tribe by Buchi Emechita. We have Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. And we have several other types or other examples of prose fiction. Now, we are not going to be discussing non-prose fiction today. We are going to be focusing on prose fiction. So, and I've told you the meaning of prose fiction. Let's discuss the different types of prose fiction. The first one we are going to be looking at is novel. What is novel? The word novel is used to name or to designate any extended fictional prose narrative. It is customarily restricted to narratives in which the representation of character occurs either in a static condition or in the process of development as the result of events or actions. So my explanation will not be exactly what is on the screen. So you listen to what I'm saying and then read the writing on the screen. Okay? So generally, novel is a book with lengthy stories that deal with either imaginary or historical characters. And we have some of the examples here, like The Interpreter by Wole Soyinka, The Stillborn by Zainab Alakali, and several other stories which we may not mention here as a result of time, because of time. So we have others like Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. We have The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born by Ayi Kwe Ama. All these are prose fiction and they are extended. And novel is the largest or the most extended type of prose fiction. We cannot give exact word or range of word because a novel can be as voluminous as probably 800,000 words or more. So the novel is narrative in nature, very extended. And I believe at one time or the other you must have come across novel, or maybe it have been recommended for you in your literature syllabus. So another type of prose fiction is novella. Not novella, in another word, it is called novelette. So novella applies to a work of prose fiction of intermediate length. It is longer than a short story and then it is shorter than a novel. The novella also displays the customary compact structure of the short story with the greater development of characters as well as the development of theme and the development of action. So the novella is shorter than a novel, but also bigger than a short story. Sometimes we can say, okay, the novella is between 20,000 to 50,000 words. But note that this is not static. There are novellas that are bigger than 50,000 words, but they are still regarded as novella. So, short story is smaller than the novella, and the novella is smaller than the novel itself. Then, some of the examples are Mariama Ba, So Long a Letter, The Secret Sharer by Joseph Conrad, Man of the People by Chinua Achebe. All these are novellas. Note that novella is not as big as the novel, and it is not as small as the short story. It is bigger than the short story. And note also that the novella can also be called a novelette. All right? Now let's go to another type of prose fiction, short story. What is short story? No, from the name short, you can imply that it is a story that is short. It is a prose fictional work that is not as big as a novella or as big as a novel. It is a small world of the novel. The novel have extended characters, have extended story, have extended plot. But the short story is not so. The plot of the short story is simple, and the short story can be read in a single sitting. But like the novel, the short story also contains an imaginative story. It is fiction. The story is not real. Okay? So, but the plot of it is very, very short. It is a story you can read probably within hours. Within 2, 3 to 4 hours, you can be able to sit down and read a short story from the beginning to the end. And some of the examples are The Will to Die by Ken Temba, Forest of Flower by Ken Sawuru-Wiwa, and Ngugiwa Tiogo's The Return. It's a short story in a short story collection. So all these are types of prose fiction. In our next class, we are going to be discussing non-prose fiction and the types of non-prose fiction. Okay. So if you have a question, please let me know in the comment section and we discuss it together. Okay. Have a good day. Remember to subscribe. We meet in our next class.